Before we go on the record.
We're good to go, Mike.
We got the thumbs up. We'll start over. Good morning. On this glorious day of June 5th of the year 2023, we're gathered to start the City of Fitchburg Board of Review. I call this meeting to order. And I ask that we have a roll call vote to make sure we have a quorum. Madam Clerk, can you start the process?
Thank you, Chair. Mike Couliard.
Here.
Elton Krim Jr.
Here.
Sean Paff.
Here.
Carol Poole is absent. Sharif Atoun is absent. Rich Tate.
Here.
Andrew Slegger.
Present.
Nicole Lafarty.
Here.
You do have a quorum, and I will note for the record that Carol Poole is in attendance. You have a quorum, Chair.
We have a quorum. Madam Clerk, has this meeting been properly noticed under Wisconsin statutes?
Thank you. It has. It was noticed on, published in the paper on May 22nd, and we had a second notice published in the paper on June 3rd. It was noticed both times in 3 public places: the Senior Center, Fitchburg Community Center, Senior Hall, and then we did tape a notice to the front door of City Hall.
Certainly sounds like we met the mandatory requirement of 3 public places, so thank you for doing that. Madam Clerk, one of the new requirements this year is that at least one member of the Board of Review has met the annual training requirement. Has this board met that requirement?
We have, sir. I myself have taken the training. Chair Couliard has taken the training on May 9th. Sean Paff took the training on May 15th. Carol Poole took the training on May 15th. Elton Krim Jr. took the training on May 15th. Rich Tate took the training on May 15th. I do have confirmation of Sharif taking the training that he just turned in, and Nicole has also taken the training.
I think we met the requirement. I think we surpassed it. Thank you, everyone. Annual, it's annual, Sean. As I mentioned earlier, as some of the members were coming in, it's nice to see you all again. And at this meeting, we're going to just make it as short as possible so that we can make sure that we follow the correct procedures within the statutes. So we're now down to item agenda, where we're going to ask our new assessor, is it Christopher Leitz, to identify himself for the record. Let us know what the standing is of the current year's assessment roll. Please identify yourself and give us a little background since we haven't met you before.
Sure. Thanks, Chair. So I'm Chris Leitz. I started with the City of Fitchburg in January of 2023. I am certified as an Assessor 2 and an Assessor 3 by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, current with all required continuing education. Prior to coming on board here, I worked in Janesville for the City of Janesville for about 7 years. Started as a property appraiser, then Appraiser 2, then Deputy City Assessor, and then started here in January. So I have a lot of experience running the gamut of commercial, residential, kind of all things in between. So beyond that, I can introduce my staff as well. I'm kind of working from right to left. Julia Stover is one of our appraisers. She is certified as an Assessor 2 and started with the City of Fitchburg in December of 2021. Then we have Andrew Woodruff, who is our assessment technician, certified as an Assessor 2 and started in December of 21. And then Trent Milliken just started with us a few weeks ago. He is an appraiser as well, certified as an Assessor 2. Prior to coming on board here, him and Andrew both worked at the Department of Revenue. So beyond that, our assessment notices went out on May 26th, and we started open book on Wednesday, May 31st, and are running it through Wednesday of this week, June 7th, at which point we'll send out any determinations on June 8th. So we should be ready to go by the meeting on the 23rd at 8:30.
Any questions from the board or assessor? Well, first of all, I'd like to say welcome. And the question I have is, are you doing a market update this year, or what are you planning to do as far as changes in assessment?
Sure. So this year is just a maintenance year. So largely, the city's parcels are not affected. The kind of large volume is going to be, or, of parcel changes was the township parcels that got annexed in. So most of those have changed value from last year, some, minimally, some substantially. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Basically, our approach was to bring them on board with where we have historically assessed Fitchburg parcels. So we just kind of absorb them into our models, if that makes sense.
Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Welcome, Chris. Thank you. So with the town of Madison, we've been hearing for years, it took a while for things to get woven into us. So all of the properties now are factored into the equalized value of the city, or is that?
Yeah, they will be.
They will be. How long is that process, do you know?
That's a good question. I'm not explicitly sure the answer. My assumption is, so the way it should work is now their assessments will be, obviously they'll be on the tax roll for this year, so whenever Fitchburg, or whenever the state releases their equalized values, and maybe Trent, who worked for equalization, might know more about this, but my assumption is that they would get absorbed, they'd reflect in the equalized value starting probably next year once those assessments become kind of official and on the books.
Do we still do a neighborhood by neighborhood approach every 5 years in Fitchburg for assessing?
So that would be, I would assume, I know Amy used to do interim market updates pretty regularly. I think she did, so I know they did one in 22, 2020, and I don't know prior to that. I think they were fairly common. But my approach would be to do them probably more frequently than 5 years.
Okay.
I think it makes sense to do them, more frequently as time and staffing and all that stuff allow. Yeah.
There was another gentleman that walked in, and Paul, is that his name, or Olson?
Oh, Craig, yeah. Craig, he said we had some walk-ins for open book, so he popped back over
His
there.
role is what again?
So he's our deputy city assessor. Forgot to introduce him, but he's our deputy city assessor. He handles most of our commercial stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to make sure you had it on the record.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks.
Thank you. Betcha. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
August 15th. It'll be incorporated into the city's value.
Okay, there we go. Thanks.
I did that for
Still,
many years.
still playing a little catch up.
So we're here today. The role is not completed.
Correct.
You're telling us that on May 23rd, you will meet the statutory requirements for publishing and distributing notices to all property taxpayers with change
June.
of assessment?
June 23rd.
June 23rd.
Yep.
Thank you for the correction.
You bet.
Okay, hearing that, the activity of the Board of Review today then is basically to set that as our first meeting date.
Correct.
So we're looking at June 23rd of 2023 at 8:30 a.m.,
Correct.
okay? Madam Clerk, will you make sure that that's properly noticed?
Yes, that has been noticed twice as well, so.
Okay, so we're in the process of doing our noticing as required. Hearing that, let's have a motion of the board to adjourn this meeting and reconvene on June 23rd at 8:30.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I can't imagine there'd be anybody opposed.
Never know in this town.
Andrew would like to stay and do more. But, I'm not sure who he'll be talking to other than himself. At this point then, having that motion passed and carried, I will call this meeting to closure. Let's adjourn.